Hello, everybody. It's good to see you back again. I am David. So, I have a screen in front of me today, and you have the option to turn on your camera if you would like me to see your practice. That will enable me to give alignment feedback sort of based on what I see, but you, of course, don't have to do that. So, if you prefer to have your camera off, that's totally fine. Now, today, as always, we'll do some breathing exercises, set of standing poses, some back bends and twists in the middle, and then hip and hamstrings at the end before some meditation. So make sure you've got some bare feet, a spot on your yoga mat, and we'll get rolling with the breathing. So just sit up really tall for the next few moments. And then close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And then just return to normal breathing patterns and pay attention to your inhaling and exhaling. If and when your mind wanders elsewhere, notice that it's gone somewhere else, and then slowly redirect. For the moment, lift your right hand all the way up to your face. Place the tip of your index and middle finger directly between your eyebrows. And then as you focus there, breathe in as deeply as you're able to. Exhale all of your air. Use your thumb to block the right nostril. Inhale left. Ring finger to left. Exhale out the right. Inhale left side. Exhale out the right side. And then again, breathe in left. Exhale out the right. Breathe in through the right. Breathe out through the left. Inhale right side. Exhale left side. Breathe in through the right. Breathe out through the left. Then drop your hand to your lap. Breathe all the way in. Hold your breath and do your best to relax. Exhale slowly through your nostrils. With an inhale, fill your belly, then your ribs, then your upper chest, and hold your breath again. Exhale all of your air. Once more, fill your belly, your chest, then your very upper chest near the collarbones. Hold your breath once more. Exhale all of your air. Once more, breathe normally and pay attention to your inhaling and your exhaling. And join your hands together in a prayer at your chest and bring to mind someone you'd like to dedicate today's practice to. Send your person some good energy mentally. All right, today we're going to do some cats and some cows from a seated position. So just stay as you are with your legs crossed, and then take your hands to your knees. Now, the basic motion is exactly the same as what you do from kneeling. Just round your back with your exhales and arch your spine with your inhales by lifting your collarbone so you take in a bit of a back bend. And then continue on. Use your exhales for the rounding, your inhales for the arching. Once you start to feel good about that, then get more creative about your motions. Freestyle around. If you find something that feels good, do some more of that. With no pressure to move in any specific way, just sort of explore your spine and the tension you've got to work with for today. And do your best to keep breathing deep throughout. And sometimes if it feels good to stop at a certain point that needs stretching, stop there and just use your breath to open up some of the tension. And send your breath into the spaces that resist. All right, then come back to a neutral upright position with your spine. And then next, just a gentle side bend. Walk your right hand over to the edge of your mat. Reach your left arm upward into the air. Side bend to your right by reaching your arm overhead. Then gaze straight upwards under your armpit toward the sky. And keep breathing into the posture that you found. Use an inhale to come back up. Same position on the other side. Place your left hand upon the earth, reach your right arm all the way up. As you reach your right arm over the ear, sort of press out your left hand to create a little bit more side bend. And then come up and out of that, and then place your right hand on the floor behind you. Roll your hips out a square by drawing your right hip a little further back. Take your left hand to your knee, tuck your ribs down in the front, and give your spine a twist. Rotate right and gaze backward over your shoulder behind. When you inhale, try to send your inhales into the space in your ribs. When you exhale, squeeze down with your belly to push out every last drop of air. Hold your twisting just as it is and look all the way forward at the front. Then look way left and to stretch your neck muscles. Draw your chin down toward your left shoulder there. That'll give you some opening in your right upper neck. Now release that side and then slide your left sitting bone back. Take your right hand to your left knee. Put your other hand behind you. Now, sometimes in an attempt to sit taller, the ribs sort of flare out, so tuck your ribs down a little bit. You'll still maintain spinal length. And now rotate and gaze straight backwards. Send your inhales into your ribs. Then empty your lungs with your exhales. Now, still holding that twist with your spine, look directly forward. Rotate your head way off to the right. Draw your chin down to stretch the muscles of your left upper neck. Then release. And once you have, Step back to the cat-cow kriya position with your shoulders stacked right above your wrists. And curl your toes under and back and lift your hips up into the air for the downward facing dog stretch. And finally, some pedaling. Bend one leg and straighten the other one. And alternate back and forth between both. Now come all the way up to the tips of your toes and straighten your legs as much as possible. Bend your knees at least a few inches. Lift your tailbone higher into the air. As you drive out through your hands, let your chest drop a little bit closer to your thighs. Shake your head yes also to loosen up your neck. And when you're ready for it, start to straighten your legs just a little bit at a time, breath by breath. Stop at the space where you get some stretch in your hamstrings, your calf muscles, and then just try to relax a little bit and breathe into that. Now use an inhale to roll yourself to the plank position. Lower all the way down to your stomach. Prop yourself up on your elbows so you look like a sphinx. As your elbows press into the ground, lift up through your collarbones in your chest and gaze directly forward from there. If it feels good to move around in this one a little bit, go ahead and twist that pose about and rotate from one side to the other side. And then pulling back with your elbows, lift your collarbones just a little bit higher. Roll yourself down and plant your hands near the bottom of your ribs. You can use your knees on the floor if you wish. Press to the up dog with an inhale. And now lift your hips upwards into the air for the downward facing dog. Now take a look forward at the front of your mat. Step or jump to get up there. Come all the way up to the tips of your fingers. Take a slow forward fold. And from that position, bend one leg, straighten the other one, and continue back and forth. And bend your legs. Use an inhale to roll yourself all the way upwards to a full standing posture. And once you're there, join your hands together in a prayer position at your chest. All right, use an inhale to sweep your arms outwards and upwards. Grab your right wrist with your left hands. Pull up till that arm feels long. Side bend your torso to the left. Gaze upward under your armpit toward the ceiling. And try to press down through your right heel just a little bit harder so you're really anchored in your base. Use your next inhale to come up. Grab a hold of your left wrist with your right hands. And as you pull, your arm might not totally straighten, no big. Tip your torso to your right. Gaze upward under your armpit toward the ceiling. And breathe into the spots that feel tight. And use your next inhale to come all the way back up to the top. Forward fold as you exhale and take both hands down to the floor. Then the bent legged twist, Sukha Pashasana. Bend your legs. With your legs still remaining bent just like that, reach your arms all the way up overhead. Then join your hands together in a prayer at your chest. Rotating to the right, cross your left elbow completely over your leg. Press your hands together to rotate your spinal column to the right. Even now, slow breaths, and deep as well. Use your next inhale to sweep arms up to the ceiling above you. And join your hands together in a prayer. Rotate off to the second side and hook your elbow over your leg another time. With your hands joined together in a prayer, just keep rotating and twisting. Slow inhales and slow exhales. Use an inhale to sweep your arms back up through the center. Straighten out your legs entirely, and then take your hands to either your waist or your lower back. And walk your feet apart until they're separated by about the width of your hips. And roll your tail under until your butt clenches. Roll your tailbone back a little bit till your rear end gets softer. And then squeeze your elbows back in together. Lift up to the base of your ribs. And back bend as you hold there. Elbows back in together as you lift up to the walls of your chest. And then finally use an inhale to come up. Forward fold from there. Bend your knees as much as necessary. And grab your big toes with your index and middle finger. Still holding on tight. Lift your chest up and then away from your thighs. Feel free to stay there. Otherwise, fold forward with your exhale. And as you do so, pull the top of your head closer to your toes below. Belly crunch down to the front to engage your abdominals. Let that pull your ribs and your face just a slight bit closer to your legs. And from the core of your pelvis, stretch out to the top of your head. Just extend the top of your head a slight bit closer to your toes. Now use an inhale to come all the way up to your fingertips. Again, you can definitely bend your knees if it helps. Slide your hands under your feet for Padahastasana, the hand to foot pose. Lift your hips until you get a good stretch in your legs. And then fold forward again and breathe into the pose. Massive inhale, sent into the muscles in your back. Next time you inhale, come all the way up to your fingertips. Then bend your legs, plant your hands. Hop back to the high push-up position. Drop your knees down to the floor and thread the needle. Sweep your right arm across your center line until your shoulder comes down to the ground. The side of your head come down to the earth and take some deep breaths there as well. And press down to come up. Thread the needle on the other side. The left arm slides all the way across the midline to come down. And press down to come up. Curl your toes under behind you. Lift your hips back for the downward facing dog. Take a look forward and step or hop upwards toward the front of your mat. Come up to the tips of your fingers. Bend your legs for the chair posture. Sweep your arms outwards and upwards. Then draw your hands together in a prayer at your chest. With your legs still bent, come up to the tiptoes of your right foot. Now draw your right heel up toward your booty for a moment. Bend your standing leg a slight bit more. And you just start to light up the muscles in your quadriceps. Gaze at one single spot down there on the floor. And try to keep your hips at the same time squared with the front of your mat. Now lean forward even further. Glide your right foot all the way backwards to the rear. Let your heel remain spun up. And then come to a full lunge. Reach your arms out to the sides and upwards to the ceiling. Drop your left hip crease straight down to enter a deeper lunge. At the same time, press your right heel straight back. Just like before, keep your eyes locked on some single point ahead. And then leaning forward and outward and plant your hands on the ground, step back to the high push-up position. And lower down till shoulders around even with elbow. And from there, press to the up dog. Lift to the down dog. For the same cycle again, step or hop to the front of your mat. Come upwards to your fingers. Then bend your legs. Use an inhale to sweep your arms all the way upwards. Join your hands together in a prayer at your chest. Lock your eyes on something solid and come up to the tiptoes of your left foot this time. As you balance a little compromised, you lift your foot just a bit. If it's feeling pretty good for you, lift your foot substantially higher and allow for that slight forward lean in your torso and your chest. As your heart starts to beat faster, try to keep your breath deep. Now, with your hips still relatively squared forward, lean forward and glide your rear foot all the way backwards. With your heels spun up to the ceiling, come to vertical with your chest and reach your arms all the way up. Right hip crease drops down. Left heel presses back. Square your hips to the front by rolling your left hip forward. And as you hold there, keep pressing your heel straight back. And now for a different transition, lean forward and plant your hands on the ground near the left-hand side of your mat. Straighten your leg. Walk your hands and your feet over to face the side of the mat itself. Then initially turn your toes all the way outwards. Bend both legs substantially. And once you've sunk into the webbing of your hips, use an inhale to come up to the horse, arms to the ceiling. Now roll your tailbone upward and backwards so you sort of look like Donald Duck in your pelvis. Bend your legs a little bit more until you find a stopping point. And then press your arms overhead and back. And try to stack your torso directly above your hips. Interlace your hands behind your skull, and then getting a rested position. And then squeeze your elbows back in together to open up your heart. And a little bit of a back bend as you continue to hold. All right, straighten out your legs. Reach both arms completely out to the edges of the class. Take a big step to get back to the front of your mat. And for now, close your eyes and just focus on your breath. Sense your placement upon the earth and feel the earth spreading out from underneath your feet in all directions at once. And then bending both legs. Touch your fingers to the floor. Use an inhale to come up to the chair. This time, join your hands together in a prayer at your chest. Twisting to your left, cross your elbow all the way over your leg. Join your hands together in a prayer. And this time, look straight down at the floor beneath you. Now, still gazing down, come up to the tiptoes of your right foot. You can slide the heel back a little bit and balance on the ball of the foot itself. Either stay there or draw your right heel up to your bum and pause there as you continue to twist. Now, still twisting, lunge your foot all the way back. Press your hands together to rotate the spinal column around and try to straighten your rearmost leg as much as you can by pressing through your heel. Release the twist so you can plant your hands on the floor. High push-up position to low. Then the up dog with your inhale. Then the down dog with your exhale. Use your inhale to step or jump forward. Rise to your fingers, and then fold with your exhale. Bend your legs and inhale both arms up. Join your hands together in a prayer. Twisting yourself right. Cross your left elbow over your leg. It's usually pretty helpful to look straight down at the floor, especially for the balance of this. And once you've done that, slide your left foot back a little bit and come up onto the ball of your foot and your tiptoe on the left foot only. If your balance is feeling pretty good, lift your heel up toward your posterior. Maintain your twist. Then lunge your foot all the way backwards. Maintaining your twisting. Try to drive back through your rearmost heel as you spin. A different transition. Release the twist. Spin your body over to face the long edge of your mat. Then this time with straight legs, turn your big toes in. Come all the way up to your fingertips. Place your left hand on the floor right beneath your heart. Twist right and reach your right arm straight upwards to the ceiling above. Press into your heels. Keep both legs as straight as they can be. Now switch your hands positioning so that the right one goes directly under your chest. Twist left and reach your left arm straight upwards into the air. Take both hands back down to the floor and then turn your toes outwards. Initially bend your legs. Now walk your hands way over to your right. Keep your right leg bent, straighten the left one, and if it works best for you, keep your hips kind of high. If you want to go deeper, let your hips sink really, really low. Then with your right hand still resting there on the floor, reach your left arm out to the side and gaze straight up toward your outstretched left thumb. All right, now take your hands back down to the floor beneath you there. Lift your hips up, walk them back through center, and take your hands way over to your left. And if it helps, you can always turn your foot out a little bit more. And you can absolutely keep your hips higher. And if it works for you, let your hips sink very low. And with your left shoulder still pressing against your inner thigh, reach your right arm all the way out to the side and gaze straight up toward your outstretched thumb. Take both of your hands down, lift your hips higher, come all the way back through center, then bend your legs, round your spine, and let the top of your head hang near the floor. Crisscross your arms down near the ground, with your forearms hovering just a bare few inches above the earth. And bend your legs just a little bit more as your spinal column rounds. Use an inhale to stand up, straighten your legs, reach your arms out to the sides and then up. And reach your arms way out to your sides. Take a big and massive step to get back to the front of your mat. All right, the tree pose is next. So start out with your feet narrowly placed, no more than a fist width and maybe even closer. And with your hands on your waist, place your left heel near your right inner ankle. If you're modifying today, you go with that. Otherwise, take your foot a little higher upwards. Anything is fair game, including, surprisingly, your innermost knee. And once you've found something that's going to work for you, join your hands together in a prayer at your chest and breathe. If you have fancy arm positions you like to take, feel free to integrate them. We're here for about 30 more seconds. If you prefer, keep it simple with your hands in a prayer at your chest like me. Respond to the wobbles as they come, and just keep focused on your minds. Keep focusing your mind on your breathing to keep your mind calm. All right, nice job all. Take your foot all the way back down to the floor. Then place your right foot near your left inner ankle. And take your foot higher up if you want. I usually have to grab my ankle to pull it higher, so if that works for you, you might try. With your eyes still locked on something very solid. Same arms positions as before. Try to relax your face and your jaw and let your tongue drop down from the roof of your mouth. If you did a funky arm position before, now is the time to do so again. Just about 20 seconds left. All right, then drop your foot all the way back down to the earth. Once you've done so, reach your right arm either forward or directly upward. We're setting up for the dancer's pose. Now, if it helps, you can turn your toes out just a tiny bit on your feet. Then take your left hand back and grab your left foot. Try to grab the inside of the foot with your thumb facing up. Initially, stand relatively tall as you kick your foot backward and upward into your hand. Feel free to stay higher up like I am to modify, or forward lean just a little bit at a time while you maintain your kicking. Use an inhale to come up, draw your knee to your chest, drop your foot, and rejoin your hands together in a prayer. If you do decide to turn out, let it be the slightest degree, just a tiny bit. And then the left arm reaches up. With your thumb facing up, reach back to grab the inside of your foot. When you kick your foot up into the hand, it's okay to let your chest and your hip roll up into the side of it. And as it continues to kick high, stay like I am, higher up, or again, lean forward to test your balance a touch. Yeah, Amy and Tara, good. All right, come all the way back up. Drop your foot back down to the floor and join your hands together in a prayer. Use your inhale to sweep your arms all the way upwards. Forward fold as you breathe out. Lift to your fingertips. High push-up position. Lower all the way down to your belly. Shalabhasana. Lift your chest and your hands and your legs all the way off of the ground. And squeeze your shoulders back in together as you hold. Give it all a little more upward lift. Relax to come down. Bend your legs and wave your ankles side to side. Use that to loosen up your lower back. Now take your feet back down to the floor. And this time reach your arms back near your sides. Turn your palms to face down and press your hands firmly into the floor with both arms straight. Now this might feel a little weird, but look forward, slide your chin well ahead, and attempt to touch your chin to the ground. Now with your chin still touching the earth, drive your hands into the floor and lift your legs off of the ground. Chin on the floor, legs lift to strengthen the muscles over your posterior. Keep pressing your hands into the mat as you hold. Then take your feet back down, bend your legs, and wave your ankles from one side to the other side. Now this next one is just the opposite, so let your feet come back down. Now plant your fingertips under your shoulders with all 10 fingers facing in toward your center and your elbows poking out to your sides. And drag the bottom rim of your ribs a little further forward to create some spinal length. Pretend someone were sitting on your feet. Press your feet into the earth. Use your back strength to lift your chest. And take your hands off the ground and then slide your elbows down toward your belt and maintain your lifted heart. The tops of the feet stay in contact with the floor. Now, plant your hands down near the bottom of your ribs, curl your toes under and back. Tuck your ribs down a little bit in the front, then press from the low push-up to the high push-up. Once you've done so, take your knees to the ground, shift your hips back a few inches for the puppy dog pose. Once your thighs filled somewhere near vertical, walk your hands forward. Let your whole entire chest sink down toward the floor. And your forehead or your chin as well, if at all possible. Around your spine in order to lift your elbows. Roll yourself all the way down to the floor. Once you're down there, plant your hands in a push-up position near the base of your ribs. Reach your right arm out to the side and turn your palm to face up. Bend your left leg, roll onto the right hand side. Attempt to touch your toe to the floor behind you and gaze straight upwards at the ceiling. If you want to make it a little more challenging, you can point both knees straight upwards in the air. Otherwise, just keep the one knee pointed up and keep twisting. All the way back down. Slide your left arm out to the side with your palm facing up. Bend your right leg. Flip your hip open to the edge. And tap your toe or your heel to the ground. Both knees up if you did that previously. Or just one knee up to the ceiling like me. Roll all the way back down to the earth. And press your hips back to the heels for the child's pose. Let your hips rock back and forth and side to side as you hold. And take a moment to consider some back bending posture that you would like to practice. And then it's choose your own adventure time for about 2 minutes. Any back bend that you would like to practice, self-paced and on your own. If you don't know what to do, you could do some of those back bends we just took, things like the puppy dog pose, or you can practice the bow on your belly, the camel's pose on your knees, wheels pose with your hips pointed up. Anything goes. If you're in the puppy dog pose, just let that whole middle section of your back, right below the shoulder, sink down toward the ground. If you're in the camel's pose, roots to rise. Really drive your knees into the floor to lift upwards to the walls of your chest. If you're doing the bow posture, lean forward so your collarbones are nearer to the floor. Sometimes that'll help your feet press a little bit higher upwards into the air. Good, Tara. Well done. That's it. Amy, beautiful. About 1 minute left. If your back gets sensitive between, consider some cat-cow kriyas or a spinal twisting. Time for one more back bend if you've got the energy for it. Good, exit, Amy. All right, everybody, go ahead and let your posture end. Once you've done so, come to a seated position facing the camera with both legs extended straight forward. Now, this next one is a really deep spinal twisting posture. And I'll do it along with you, but roll over that way onto your left hip. I'm going to do my right, so it looks like we're doing the same thing from the camera's perspective. So roll that way. And then draw your heels back near your side. Now in this one, I'm going to have you reorient your body a little bit. So spin your knees over to the side so they're sort of facing sideways. And then plant your hands in a push-up position like this. A wide push-up with your hands well apart. Now bend your elbows a little bit and then just rotate your chest off to the left. Now, in many instances, that's going to be a lot of twists and you might just stay there. If you do want more though, reach across, grab your left wrist with your right hand. Bending your elbows, try to take that elbow down to the floor. So the right elbow comes to the floor once you've grabbed your wrist. If you've got that far, shift your body's weight further to your right till your arm goes straighter, and then just let your body's weight sink down toward your arm. Press down through your hand to come all the way back up, right? Then the cow face pose. Swing your right knee over top of left. If it's not possible to cross your legs completely, you can always bear hug the leg into your chest with your left arm. Otherwise, try to stack your knees one above the other. Center your hips on the ground. And forward lean over your legs completely. If you're doing the forward folded variation, try to really glue your right hip to the floor beneath you. There's an inhale to sit all the way up. Straighten your legs, roll over to your right hip, and draw your feet back near your side. All right, so spin your knees more over to the side so they're sort of pointed off toward the edge there. Plant your hands on the floor right there beneath you with a very wide stance, and rotate your spine to the right. I'm already getting a lot of twist on my back, so I totally get it if you don't want to go on. If you do, reach across to grab your right wrist with your left hand. Take that elbow to the floor, the left one, and slowly shifting your body's weight left, let your body's weight descend down on top of the arm again. Or alternatively, maintain that twist that you're in. And press all the way up. And then the cow face pose, Gomukhasana. Swing your left leg over. Remember, you can always modify it by hugging your knee into the chest, which will open your glutes. If you can stack your knees, sometimes it's helpful to lift your hips off the ground, sort of swing them into place. But then once you take your hips back down, try to really glue that left sitting bone to the earth. Pulling your feet back near your sides. Forward lean over your legs beneath. And again, just breathe. And use an inhale to sit up and unfurl your legs completely. Draw your heels toward your innermost thighs. Now, once you've done that, reach down with your index and middle finger and grab the inside of your big toe. Rock your way back and balance on your heel if you want to modify like that. Otherwise, go for it. Lift your feet all the way off of the ground. Keep your eyes locked on something solid. Use all that flexibility you develop to extend outwards through your feet. Slide your shoulders down, lift upwards through your chest. Amy, that's the advanced exit. I love it. Nice job, you. Right now, if you want to take it deeper, take your feet all the way together, or at least together-ish, and keep sitting tall as you breathe. All right, then take your feet back down to the floor. Straighten your legs and roll all the way down to fully lay down on your back. Once you're laying down, reach both of your arms completely out to your sides at shoulders height. Take your favorite spinal twist with your knees right. And if you're not sure what to do, draw your knees toward your chest. Drop them to the right. Then rotate your gaze left. And sweep your knees all the way back up and take them over for the same posture on the other side. When you're ready, find your way to the corpse pose or a seated meditation posture if that's your preference. Make any final adjustments necessary so you can get relatively still. And just let your eyes close and settle in. So I'm the eldest of three, and my youngest brother, Hugh, has turned out to be a fine man. But being the third, I think he sort of got the short end of the stick when we were growing up. I, being the first, got all sorts of new stuff, and he most oftentimes got my hand me downs. Our house actually ran out of room for extra people as well, so by the time he came around, my parents didn't have anywhere to put him, so we shared a room for many years. Now, at some point as he got older, around 9 or 10 years old, I think he wanted to have his own space, so my parents decided to convert a very small room next to mine into his bedroom. The room itself was smaller than many walk in closets that I saw. It didn't really have a lot of space, but he really liked it because it was his space. I remember after they finished the room, he was really pumped and super excited to get into that space. So we had a bunch of his little buddies over. They all made a bunch of sandwiches and they poured some Coca Colas, and I remember them walking across the house to go into his room. Now, I really don't know what my problem was that day, but I had a big attitude problem, and I saw them walking across my room to get to his, and I got really upset about it. I yelled at them a little bit. I told them to be quiet and to get out of my space. Now, my brother tried to take it in stride because he was with all of his little friends, but I could tell it actually really hurt his feelings. I saw his jaw clench and I could see him sort of trying hard to fight back tears. I think he just really wanted to enjoy that space with his buddies, and I completely screwed it up. Now, a while back when my teacher Lama Migmar was teaching a little bit about dealing with human regret, that was one of the first things that came to mind. Now, I have little tiny R regrets like that, and I have really big R regrets, and I absolutely wish that I hadn't done the things that led me to regret. Now, even so, that's not really an option. The die has been cast, so to speak. So when Lama Migmar taught about how to deal with regrets, it really hit me. It sort of affected me in a way that made me feel confidence that I can do better moving forward. Now, when he taught about it, he taught that according to Buddhist psychology, regret is an indeterminate emotion. In contrast, some emotions are clearly negative. Say hatred, for example. There's never a positive circumstance in which hatred can be applied. Love, on the other hand, is a positive emotion. As long as it's not based in self interest, as long as it's based in the well being of the other person, love in general is a universally positive emotion. Regret's a little bit different. According to context and circumstance, it can be either negative or positive. So if you've done something in your life that you really, really regret, you beat yourself up about it, you try to punish yourself for the rest of your life, and you dim your light, that's a negative connotation of regret. On the other hand, if you use the regret to learn, if you reflect on the circumstance, if you realize that you've hurt another person through doing whatever you did, and you set a really strong resolution to do your best to never do it again, you follow through with that resolution, then the regret becomes a causal factor for positive things in your life. It actually becomes a good thing. Now, in the context of my story, that's the practice. I recognize that I hurt my brother that day. I recognize that I was not at my best. And so I've done my best to set the intention to not do the same. Now, I certainly don't always get it perfect, but these days when I see somebody enjoying something in my life and I'm tempted to get in the way in any way, shape, or form, I just do my best to shut the hell up, to step back and to do every single thing I can to support them in their moment of happiness. Now, as I mentioned, I don't always get it right, but I get it right more often than not. And I think because of that, much good has come out of that initial negative action. So today, we'll practice calming the mind for a little bit. And if you have any resonance whatsoever, I'll give you the opportunity to potentially contemplate doing some of the same. I think that's important because we all have regrets in this life. So for now, if you will, just redirect awareness to your whole body entire. Take the deepest inhale you can. Hold your breath, squeeze every muscle in your body, lift your head and your arms and your legs, and squeeze all your tension out. And then exhale and relax all that tension. Let your body come back down to the mat. Relax and take a few rounds of normal breath. And then again, breathe in as deeply as you're able to. Hold your breath, squeeze every muscle in your body, lift your head and your arms and your legs, and let everything get really tense. And then exhale and release. Return to completely normal breathing again. All right, everybody, final round of those. Huge breath in. Hold your breath, squeeze all the tension out. And then relax and let it go. And for the next few moments, breathe normally and naturally. So, the idea of living a life without regret is a popular notion in our culture. If it's possible for you to do that, you should do it. And that's absolutely fantastic. Now, in my case, I have not found the ability to do so. I find that more often than not, I'm really learning as I go through life, which means I oftentimes make mistakes. In those moments, I think the regret is absolutely totally natural, and especially if it hurts another person. I think through reflecting on regret makes it easier to set a vow to not do the same thing again. And while that vow is not always successful, when it is, some good comes from all that pain. Now, if you choose to do this final exercise, keep in mind that the purpose of this exercise is not to punish yourself. Instead, it's to contemplate, to learn from your mistakes, to set an intention to do better moving forward. So today, if you have resonance, just think about some example from your life where you did something that you regret. Rather than trying to hide from that emotion, rather than trying to avoid that emotion, let it be there. And in fact, perhaps even increase a little bit by contemplating some of the things that made you regret. Hold it in your heart rather than trying to avoid it or push it away, and it can actually become a really strong force for personal transformation. Now, if you have motivation, give yourself a strong promise that you'll do your best to avoid the similar circumstance moving forward. Just set a really strong intention in your mind. And then, based on that intention, do your best to actualize. The next time you're tempted to act in that way, reflect on your vow, try to avoid that negative action, and after a little while, it'll become easier to avoid. If, like everybody in the world, you slip and make the same mistake again, remember that it takes time to learn. Take a few moments out to reflect on the same process and try again. And for now, if you will, finish out by redirecting awareness to your breath. Breathe normally. And at the end of every exhale, pause your breath for around 5 seconds. Just relax mentally and physically in the pause. When you need to, breathe in, breathe out, pause again, and over again. If holding your breath out for 5 seconds is too much, 3 seconds is fine. Choose a duration that works for you. If you're able to prolong the pause very slightly, do so, maybe 6 or 7 seconds. And then for now, revert and return to completely normal breaths. And when you feel ready, then roll all the way over to one side. With both eyes closed, come back to a seated and cross-legged posture of some type. Mhm. And then join your hands together in a prayer at your chest. Remember the person you dedicated your practices to. Now, to pray for or wish for their happiness and their well being. Take a moment to be thankful for the gift of another day. If you wish, repeat after me. May all sentient beings everywhere experience peace.